Hello and welcome to another episode of the Hotkeys podcast, where we discuss everything pop culture and random in the world. I'm your host, Mick, and today, on this very special episode, I'm joined by
David Parker.
And that is all. It is just the Parker Privilege Pack today.
Parker Brothers podcast?
Yep, P Bros and just P Bros.
Well, it's Christmas Day, so Will is with his family, Landon is with his family, and Colby is with his family. So I am with my family over the computer.
Yay!
Recording. So,
yay!
So Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes. Merry Christmas. It's snowy here in Spokane.
Oh,
how is it there?
It is warm and not snowy here. I walked out earlier to check the mail, and I was just in gym shorts and a t-shirt walking to the mailbox. So, I mean, it's probably like most people probably wouldn't be out there like that. It was like maybe 55 degrees, but you know that's how I roll. I like the cold, so
yeah.
But I do wish there was
you'd probably still be in shorts and t-shirt here. With
probably, yeah.
Especially if it's just going to get the mail.
Yeah. Well, I was checking the mail to see, because you and I were on the phone, and you were saying there was gifts that were either supposed to be here, and I was like, I gave you a bad time, or I gave my dad a bad time for not checking the mail because there were packages delivered to him. Our father. But then I realized, well, what if they delivered stuff to me, and then I'm just a hypocrite? So I was like, maybe I should also go check the mail. So I went and checked the mail, and there were no packages. So I wasn't a hypocrite after all, thank goodness. Oh, but it was a close one.
I'm very happy for you.
I was a little nervous.
You should go check again. There's probably something in there.
Oh yeah, because something got delivered at like 2:30 on Christmas Day.
Hey, Santa's busy this time of year.
Would you want to be a delivery person that works during the holidays?
I am a delivery person that works during the holidays.
Well, okay, I meant more like. Okay, well,
like specifically like UPS and FedEx, like that type, USPS.
That I meant more like parcel or package delivery. Do you have like worse hours at Christmas time? I mean, like you're not delivering different kinds of like gifts and stuff.
Funny enough, not very many people want 5-gallon jugs of water underneath their Christmas tree for Christmas Day. So I'm good.
So you have the cushy Christmas delivery job, not?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Is there like busy season for your job and then like slow season or something?
Yeah, so busy season is definitely in the heat of the summer. A lot of people go through water, so it definitely picks up more in the summertime and slows down wintertime, because apparently water's not that important in the winter.
Man, water's important year round. If only people knew that, you could work even more and more hours.
I know.
During December. Well, so did you get like a 4-day weekend or 3-day weekend or something?
I had to work on Thursday, but I got yesterday off, and then obviously today off.
Nice. What did you do? What did you do with the family, since I did not do anything with our family for Christmas, since I'm here by myself in Nevada?
On Christmas Eve, we had the grandparents over. We had dinner with them, which was fun. After that, we went to the Christmas Eve service at our church here in town, and that was a good time. We did the candlelight.
But like you light other people's candles, or
yeah, so
a lot of fire, like touching wicks together, like
yeah. The way that you put it, I don't know.
I mean, there's got to be a better way to describe it, right?
Yeah, how about the way it's actually like meant to be symbolizing? Let's think about it that way instead of touching wicks.
No, that's just a personal way to describe the experience.
That sounds like a
touching wicks.
I don't know, like a offshoot of the John Wick movies. Like, I don't know.
What, like Christmas Wick or whatever?
Sure, yeah, let's go that way.
It's the Christmas special.
Let's go with that option.
Do you like?
We did that, huh?
Oh, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, I do like whatever you're saying, but after that, we came back to the house. We in the Parker family, we have a tradition of reading poems from an old magazine from
like 1950s or something.
60s. But I don't know. It's a fun tradition. Everybody reads a couple. In fact, our father, Dad, Randy Parker, the dad of us two. He he made you and Brianna copies of the magazine so you could read them.
Oh,
have you guys been doing that, or
we don't have those.
What? I thought he gave you a copy.
I don't think so. If we do, I have no idea where they are. I think he made them for his siblings. And if he made them for us, I don't know if he ever gave them to us. We have like Advent stuff that he gave us, and things like that.
Yeah. Did you guys do that this year?
No, we actually just set up decorations like 2 days ago. So for those who don't know, which I mean I talk about it a lot, Bree is a doctor and she's really busy. So this December has been particularly busy for her, so she hasn't had a lot of downtime. I wanted
You're not that busy though.
I know, but part of the fun of like decorations is like setting them up with somebody else. So we also like some of her family was in town, so we took our decorations to their hotel because they were staying there for like 5 days or something. So we set up all our decorations there. They were set up for, a little less than a week. Then after we took the stuff back and then set them up here anyway. So it worked out, at least I thought, for the best, because then we got to like utilize decorations with her family for where they were staying. So that was kind of fun. No, I want like to know what other people do for Christmas type of traditions, because I feel like there's so many like different varieties of what people do for holidays and stuff. And Christmas or other like winter holidays, there's so many different kinds of traditions, and people like just keep doing them forever and ever, ever and ever. So like for you and me, like the one that you mentioned, it's like my dad and his family, there were these basically like Christmas magazines that I guess were popular during the 50s and 60s and probably the 40s and 70s. So there was like one particular issue of this magazine that they would like every year break out and then read these poems. And it's like, if we were to ask any of our other friends, do you guys do anything like that? I would be very surprised if they said anything similar to something like that. But then I'm sure that other families that we know have like traditions that we would not even consider either. So,
well, like for example, friend of the show Jesse, his family, they like to get up at like 4 a.m. and just open up presents without anybody else. Like that's their type of tradition that I personally think is kind of stupid. But
part of traditions is being able to crap on other people's traditions that you think are
that's true.
Are funny.
Our traditions are the best.
Like I'm sure Jesse goes like, you guys read poems for like a solid hour, like on Christmas Eve. Like that's stupid.
No, it's not.
Hey, I'm not saying it is. I'm saying I'm sure a person or two would not want to do something.
I don't think anybody would not want to do it.
We don't have
it's cool.
We've tried to start certain type of traditions too. Like for a while, we tried to have monkey bread for breakfast every Christmas. We did that for a while. I don't know if that's continued. Did you guys have monkey bread for Christmas?
No.
Because you know what?
No.
We had monkey bread yesterday because Bree didn't work yesterday. So essentially yesterday was our Christmas. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make some monkey bread. So I did.
Nice. Monkey bread's good. It's sticky.
It's so sticky and it's so sweet.
Yeah. But why do they call it monkey bread?
I don't know, because like you need like monkey fingers to like spread them apart and eat them, and then you're like just some primate just like licking your fingers and smacking. Is there's just so much like sticky
why not
sugar.
call it like Neanderthal bread or something?
That just doesn't roll off the tongue
or animal bread.
I think animal bread. I think animal bread would be okay. No, monkey bread's like a fun name though.
Is there monkey cake?
I don't think so. What'd you guys do for food?
There's those coffee beans that the monkeys poop out.
Yeah, that's like really good coffee. Civet coffee.
The civet coffee.
What did you guys do for food for Christmas? Do you have like?
Oh well, we haven't had. So I guess for breakfast for Christmas we had good old fashioned bacon, egg, sausage. We had the butter braid. Is that what it's called?
Butter braid?
Like pastry braid.
Those are really good.
Strawberry and cream cheese flavor, which was really good. Let's see, what did we eat last night? So last night for Christmas Eve, we had like some type of ham with
like a honey roast ham?
Like ham? No, it was like a ham with ribs, ham ribs, pork ribs,
rib ham, rum ham. Have you seen Always Sunny? Have you seen much of Always Sunny?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever get to the rum ham episode?
Yeah, that's when they're like out on the beach, right?
Yeah, they go to Atlantic City. That's the season with Fat Mac.
Yeah.
And Frank has the ham that he soaked in the rum, and then they like go out in the inflatable and they get washed out to sea.
Wash out to sea.
And then there's like the spoof of the Wilson scene from
Castaway.
He's just screaming rum ham and it's just ridiculous.
That episode's so gross because like don't they end up eating the ham at the end?
Oh yeah,
and it was like drifting in the ocean.
Yeah,
and
they
then,
eat
like,
the ham. Two of them
the beach.
wander underneath the pier and find some homeless dudes.
It's like such a gross beach.
Yeah. So you had rum ham for dinner.
Rum ham, yeah, marinated in the Atlantic Ocean. Let's see, potatoes, scalloped potatoes. It's a must. Green bean casserole. You know, all the fixins, all the good stuff.
Sounds more like a Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, they're basically the same meal, right?
Kind of like just heavy American food.
Not that different. Yeah, stuff that like is good for leftovers.
Yeah,
stuff that you can like put between two pieces of bread and eat it.
Have you ever put mashed potatoes between bread? Because I
have.
Wait, really?
No.
You're like, a starch sandwich.
It's my favorite. It's my go-to at Golden Corral.
Oh my gosh. Do you get headaches sometimes if you eat too many carbs in one sitting?
I don't think so.
Okay. That sometimes happens to me. Like it's like a weird like sugar carb sort of like coma or something. Like I almost get a headache and then I get sleepy. So that's probably a bad sign. It's probably like early onset diabetes or something.
Yeah. I feel like the only thing
about that.
The only thing consistently that I get headaches from eating, it's not really eating, it's chewing. It's gum, like a specific type of mint gum. Like instantly I get a headache.
Like a
I might
flavor
be allergic
or a
to
brand?
mint or something. It's like a flavor. I think it's just like
spearmint or wintergreen.
The green one.
Wintergreen?
The green mint. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Green mint.
I'm probably allergic to it. The green color. There's light blue mint, there's dark blue mint, and then there's green mint.
One of my favorite things I remember doing in my chemistry class at college was making like artificial flavors. It's like we would make artificial orange, make artificial spearmint, make artificial wintergreen. And it was crazy, like just compiling all these things, and then suddenly you have this smell that is so recognizable that you like want to eat, but you shouldn't because you just mixed it all in a test tube in the lab.
So like how to make the flavor purple. Purple flavor.
No.
Orange flavor.
Orange I did. I mean, I don't remember now. Like, don't ask me now. This was like, 10 years ago.
I'm asking you now how do you do it? Well, you've heard of that stuff that like, it's probably just that, but it's stuff where you can add it to like pieces of food and it tastes like something else.
Yeah, it's like the stuff you can get on Amazon that enhances the flavor or whatever.
I guess, yeah, like alters your taste buds or something.
I've looked into those before, but they're really expensive. It'd
be kind of cool to like put the purple flavor in a grape or orange in an orange. I bet that'd be pretty tasty.
It would be kind of cool just to like see what it does, because it's basically like little keys essentially, right, that unlock or modify taste buds, so it changes the flavor of things essentially, like on a tiny physical level. Because I mean that's how taste buds work anyway. It's just like tiny little like kind of like keys that lock into place, and then it unlocks with your brain and like sensory receptor. We should talk about something else. Something we know about.
Science portion of the podcast. We don't know about a lot, so that kind
of. Yeah, that's true.
Limits are. Yeah.
What do you know about?
I know about movies. So we watched the first half of The Fellowship of the Ring last night, and The Fellowship is my favorite movie of all time. It's so perfect. It's a perfect movie. It's so good.
Yeah. I still have a hard time like ranking the movies within each other, just because I'm not gonna sit down and watch one of them alone. I'm gonna watch all three back to back. So the experience is always so, I guess,
well, it feels
connected.
like one movie.
Yeah, it really does.
Kind of. Yeah.
What is it
like,
about the first one that you like that you have cemented as your favorite? I'm sure you've talked about this before, but that was on a past episode, so we can talk about it again.
Yeah, that was probably on like 3 episodes ago. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
about time to talk about it again.
That's old news.
I think, and this kind of is like one of my favorite types of storytelling, where it's like a smaller group of people dealing with this huge problem. So like the first Jurassic Park movie, it's just a couple people dealing with T-Rex and, velociraptors everywhere, like that type of thing. When they bring in the second movie, when it's like a giant corporation, like dealing with a bunch of stuff, it kind of loses some of that thrill and like, kind of desperation.
I guess there's more sects of people that are followed in that movie. Like you were saying, like there's those kind of like the corporate military people that are on the island. So you're following all these extra characters. I would say like the heroes, it's like about the same amount. Like you have Malcolm and then his little band of people, and that's like really all you're rooting for. Mm-hmm. So do you like Alien better than Aliens because there's less people to follow? Or
I've actually never seen either of those.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I probably would like Alien more. But the same thing with The Mummy. The first one is amazing, and the second one brings in a bunch of other people, and like there's other reasons why that movie isn't as good as the first one too. But that's part of the reason why I don't care for it so much. But I'm not saying I don't like Two Towers or Return of the King. If I had to give them a score, they'd be like at a 9.99999.
And the Fellowship is 10. Is that how that?
Yeah, the Fellowship would be 10. But yeah, I love just the contrast of how the movie starts, like the innocence of.
It's so quaint and so
exactly,
like peaceful. Well, not the very beginning of the movie.
Well, yeah. After the prologue.
Yeah, after the prologue, when you get to the hobbits, when you see Frodo and all the
And I've always loved an origin story, and this is very much an origin story.
Well, I was going to say, just like a week or two ago, you were talking about Batman Begins and how that's your favorite.
Right, yeah.
Nolan,
so like Batman Begins, Spider-Man 2002.
The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh yeah.
Homecoming. Wait, do you like Homecoming?
Yeah, Homecoming is good. Definitely not my favorite of the trilogy, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a couple minutes, maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the characters, I like what they have to do the most in the Fellowship, where it's them just trying to get from point A to point B, and they're all together. Once they split apart, it kind of, that's what the story is supposed to be like, so it works.
There's more threads to follow when they split up, because each little faction that goes off, is like ends up being connected with other outside characters that you don't have earlier in the first film. Like you have Frodo and Sam with Faramir and the the Rangers and stuff like that, and then you have all of Rohan like getting involved with those with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli.
Yeah, you have Smeagol, Frodo, and Sam doing their own thing. But yeah, and I think just the way that, to me, the first one just feels like a complete story out of all of them, even though it kind of leaves a cliffhanger. I also love sorry, I'm spoiling Fellowship.
20-year-old movie.
I love the end. That is true. 20 years this month, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The ending with Boromir, I think, is one of the best, if not the best, like redemption
arcs,
death scene, and just overall emotional, impactful characters in any movie. He's my favorite character in The Lord of the Rings. And yeah, I just like every time the scene comes up, I get choked up and I just can't help it because it's just so good. And like Sean Bean is amazing in The Fellowship. Yeah, and I could go on and on, but yeah, I love all three movies. But yeah, The Fellowship is my favorite.
I think that's a fair critique, I would say. I think I like the third the most just because it wraps everything up, and it has like the most heroic Pippin too. And Pippin, he's one of, if not my favorite character in that franchise. So I think he gets to shine. the most, and he kind of redeems himself as sort of like the fool,
like the
of
klutz,
Took. Yeah, the klutz character.
Yeah.
In the movies. I think the scale of like all the battle scenes, like with the Battle of Minas Tirith and then Rohan showing up. There's just so many there's so much like grand epic action in that movie in particular that I really like, but not to the point where it's like Marvel action where it's like too much. You know what I mean?
Mindless drones.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you have like the enemy is essentially kind of mindless drones, but it's not CG as much, I would say. I mean, there's enough of it, but I mean, you get...
I get what you mean. Yeah. The crazy thing, too, about The Lord of the Rings is for having such a, point on good versus evil, the good guys versus the bad guy, the bad guy really isn't, he's not in the movies. You know what I mean?
Sauron?
Yes, he's the eye. Sauron is, the big baddie. But I guess they have
it's essentially all his underlings and kind of
so
conduits.
Saruman, and then the orcs,
the mouth
ring
of
wraiths.
Sauron.
Mouth of I saw it's welcome.
The Power Ranger villain in the movie.
Yeah, the Power Ranger. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but we could go on and on about Lord of the Rings. I think it's yours and my favorite movie series.
And it spawns so many other just great things that we love. It got us interested in I'd say medieval fantasy more than anything else.
Made us want to smack each other with
sticks. It made us literally get into sword fights and choreographing fight scenes because we just enjoyed that so much as kids. It gave me a love for not only just actual licensed Lord of the Rings video games, but also franchises I think that are similar to, and worlds that are similar to and inspired by the Lord of the Rings. So the Game of Thrones books, I would say, I don't know if I would have enjoyed them as much if it hadn't been for the Lord of the Rings as kind of a cornerstone for medieval style fantasy.
Sure.
And then just other types of worlds and stuff. But going back to video games, all the ones we used to play, the Two Towers, Return to the King, and then I think my favorites are still the RTS games, which you never really got into because you didn't really like RTS games. But the Battle for Middle-earth games.
You also like Third Age, right?
Oh, Third Age too. Yeah. But Battle for Middle-earth are the ones that I think I enjoyed the most and stuck with me the longest. Just because I love real-time strategy games. And then just the things you could do in that game was just... I don't know. I felt like I was experiencing the movies as close as I could playing those games. The first game, there's a good campaign and a bad campaign, or good campaign and an evil campaign. The good campaign, you essentially just follow the course of the movie. So the first level is you and the Fellowship in Moria. So it introduces you to the mechanics of the game, the controls, but at that point you're not building a base, you're not having to build any buildings or build up an army, you just have your hero characters. And your hero characters have all these special abilities and stuff, and you can see what abilities they're going to get later. So Gandalf's level 10 ability is the Word of Power, which is where he takes the staff and smacks it down, and then it's just this huge AoE attack. And so you see these things and you play this level, and then it introduces you to the game, and then it follows where now you have certain levels where sometimes you're just the heroes doing essentially like Amon Hill, you do that level, or you have the Battle of Helm's Deep or something. But then you also have your own armies that if they survive, you can carry them over, and so you can move them around the map. So you get to use the map of Middle Earth, and you can choose certain places you take battles, and then if you conquer certain lands, then you get certain bonuses from them and stuff like that. So I loved playing those games growing up, and the movies helped me like the games, and then the games helped me like the movies more. So just
kind of fed into each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Lord of the Rings is such a great franchise, and I've liked it, essentially for the last almost 20 years, because we started when Two Towers came out. So year two.
Yeah, I think we both still kick ourselves for not going to the theaters for Fellowship.
Yeah. I mean, we saw Two Towers and Return of the King in theaters, though, enough times, so I think that it's kind of made up for it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so Lord of the Rings.
It is a very, amazing. Christmas, it does feel so Christmassy because they came out in the theaters at Christmas time, and then we as a family. That's kind of like one of our traditions, like to go back of we tend to watch the trilogy sometime either between Thanksgiving or Christmas, and it fits for that time of year. So it's not explicitly a Christmas movie, like, you know, A Christmas Story or something, but to you and me, I would say a large portion of the fans, it feels kind of Christmas.
It's just a movie to watch around Christmas.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically been my Christmas so far.
My actual Christmas day is mostly lonely. I mean, my interaction with you has been the most because Bree's at the hospital today, so she's you know, dealing with people that got in like Christmas fights or whatever and patching people
like
up. So
ornaments in the face and stuff.
What did you say?
I think I said it wrong. I don't know anymore. I regret talking. Let's move on. So I think let's see, it's been like 10 days now?
Something like that, yeah, I would say.
So Spider-Man No Way Home came out. Dave and I think the rest of the podcast group have gotten a chance to see it, but they're not here, so screw them. We're going to talk about it. If they want to talk about it in the future, they can, but Dave and I are going to talk about it. So spoiler alert. Yeah. I don't know probably who hasn't seen it. It's made so much money already.
Did we not talk about it last week? Now I'm starting to think, did we talk about it?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead.
Did we?
Go ahead. I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
Well, you and I can, if we did, you and I can do our more like nerdy in-depth talk or whatever.
We might have like just done like, oh, I liked it.
Oh, you hadn't seen it yet. You hadn't seen it yet, and Will hadn't seen it yet.
I was seeing it that night.
So I didn't say anything.
Yes.
You guys asked like
That's right.
what I thought, and I basically just said nothing.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to give any type of, you know.
Right.
Anything.
Spoilers.
So, yeah.
Okay, so here's a question. For someone that didn't watch any of the trailers, did you see any of the like promotional posters or anything? Like,
no. I was
basically like in the dark.
I was away from the things I remember hearing, and this was a long time ago, was that there were rumors about Willem Dafoe being on set, rumors about Alfred Molina being on set, and that people really wanted Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire to be in the movie. Yeah. Apart from that, I didn't really know much. I knew it had to do with multiverse stuff. It's like I had a hunch there was going to be some type of...
Because you knew like Doctor Strange was in it.
Yes, because I knew Doctor Strange was involved, and like due to the rumors of the other two, which was like over a year ago, I think, right? Maybe even longer.
Yeah.
So like I was fairly certain they were probably going to be in the movie. So I would say, yeah, so for the most part, there was very little that I knew going into the movie, to answer your question.
Yeah. So what was your reaction when you saw, let's start from like the beginning. So when you saw like
the tentacle,
Doc Ock's arm like exploding out of the street, what like at first were you like, this can't be like Alfred Molina, can it? Or
well,
were you like,
I mean, I was pretty sure
I
was pretty sure it was going to be Alfred Molina. I mean, I was like really excited because I've historically really liked the Spider-Man 2. I liked it more than the first Spider-Man, and a big reason for that is because of Doc Ock. He's always been one of my favorite Spider-Man villains, and I thought his portrayal in that movie was really good. You know, he's a really like great character in the movie. He's like sympathetic, and like his turn to evil makes a lot of sense because it's not really up to him. You know, it's the whole
He's kind of
inhibitor chip that breaks, and it's like his essentially too good science taking over him. So I've always really enjoyed that movie, and I've really liked him as Doc Ock. So him coming back, I was really excited. You know, he's kind of more like a minor villain, I guess, in the movie, because there's, you know, we're gonna get into it. There's a lot of villains in this movie. So it's a little harder to have, you know, someone who is like maybe, you know, like them sharing a lot of, I guess, screen time or like intricate plot, I would say. But he is the first one that's introduced, and he's kind of a good foil for like explaining what's happening, and you kind of like start learning a lot of things about like, you know, oh, I was going to die, or like I was just about to die, or I died or something, and then I'm suddenly here. So
Because like the first thing he says, besides "Hello, Peter," is like, "Where's my machine?" You know, referring to the his machine that he's building in Spider-Man 2.
What is it called? I almost called it the Tesseract, which that's not. It's like a collider, or I know that the material is tritium, right?
Yeah, tritium.
What does he say? Like 25 pounds of it, or
it's only 25 pounds of it on the whole planet. I'd like to thank Harry Osborn and Oscorp Industries for providing it. Happy to pay the bills, Otto. Anyway,
his machine. Yeah, he's looking for his machine.
Yeah,
he shows up
machine.
on the bridge, and
power of the sun.
And Tom Holland's Peter. And Tom Holland's Peter is like, what's going on? What?
Yeah.
I like the nanobots thing with like how he basically took those over so quickly.
Well, I've heard people like kind of complaining about that, like, oh, of course, like what can't Stark Tech do? This is just ridiculous. But it makes sense in terms of, if you remember what Otto talks about specifically with the arms, is that they're based on nanotechnology.
And I would say there's nothing weird about like what happened in this movie that hadn't, like the whole like magic nanotech stuff already, like we already kind of had to gloss over that many Marvel movies ago. There's nothing I would say that happens in this movie that's like any different or crazy in comparison to past movies. Like like the only thing he does is he like basically takes away some of it from his suit, which, like you said, I feel like made a lot of sense. It made the arms a little bit cooler, and then they weren't the exact same design as from the original movies, but they still kind of shared the same sort of like structure and framework, but they were like Starkified and a little bit stronger. Unfortunately, he was pacified for most of the movie, so you didn't get to see him in a ton of action, but I was glad he was in the movie, and I've always enjoyed him as a character. And his portrayal, it felt like he almost stepped from one to the other. He looks a little older, which, you know, that's understandable.
They must have used some like de-aging.
Probably. I mean, because that was like 15, 16, 17 years ago. It came out in 2004?
Yeah.
So yeah, Alfred Molina is a little older, because he already looked kind of middle-aged in in the last movie.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess for like story-wise, it would have been like immediately after that, so they would have had to do some de-aging probably.
Yeah.
Probably not for Willem Dafoe though, because he's always looked like a 50-year-old man. He was great in the movie too, Willem Dafoe. I think for those two specifically, I think that they really just picked up where they left off acting wise and just character wise, because it just felt like, you know, them from the Raimi movies, which was really cool.
Yeah. And I would say like it was way more believable having Osborn like be essentially the prime villain in the movie, because he was always kind of the most villainous, I guess. So like even though in the movie he's trying to appear like this sympathetic character, I don't know if I ever really believed that he was good. Like you could like almost tell that always like there was something working behind his crazy, insane eyes. So I didn't ever really believe he was trying to do anything good, really. Where the other characters, I think it was easier to be more sympathetic to them. Green Goblin was always such a creepy, evil character anyway. Some of his stuff I think is kind of the same with Doc Ock, where his evil is a little amplified by his science. I think though he was more of like an evil character before all that went down too, where Doc Ock I think was
if you think about
it by his science.
Right, because in the original Spider-Man, Norman's motivation for doing what he's doing is to out of desperation to save his company, and not for.
Well, he's trying to get a military contract, right? And then he doesn't.
Right,
get it, and then he lashes out and kills all those. all those generals or whatever.
What the hell is that? And then Otto, he's doing his thing for the good of mankind, like to further.
Well, he's trying to create. It's like a power source, right? Isn't that what it is? It's supposed to be
right for like clean energy and like free energy, basically. The power of the sun. The palm of my hand.
How many times can you say that this episode?
It's been at least 3, so we could keep it going. Some other villains came back too, which weren't really. I think I didn't really care about that much.
Well, like I did not expect Thomas Hayden Church, right? Is that his name?
Thomas, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So Sandman. I did not know. Like, I had no idea. I forgot to mention I had heard rumors of Jamie Foxx also being in stuff. So
yeah.
That though, I wasn't like, oh, cool, because
it was more like,
it was like, yeah, historically his movie was probably the worst Spider-Man movie.
It's the worst. Yeah, it's the worst.
And it's not entirely that character's fault. There's a lot of issues with that film. So yeah, he's in the movie. Sandman. They both show up at the same time, and then you both learn. You learn at the same time. Like, oh, this is like right before they're gonna die or get killed in their respective movies. So
the thing that confuses me about Sandman is he doesn't like almost die. Because in Spider-Man 3, like
maybe he's just
Peter
maybe he was just in close proximity to
floats away
to
I don't know,
Tobey Maguire or something, you know.
I don't know.
Or other.
But there's a couple other weird things though, because the whole thing is like the villains that are brought in knows that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, right?
That's what they explained in the movie.
But Electro, I don't think Electro ever figured out that Peter was Spider-Man.
I only saw the movie once.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
I'm sure there's someone that can verify that. But
anyway, so they're brought back the Lizard from the first Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, so at this point, like once we see the Lizard, we already have villains from Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So
yes,
every single Spider-Man movie, like or since 2002, Spider-Man movie. Yep. You know, we have villains showing up. So, and it's kind of cool because they're all essentially in the same place. So I'm like, is this going to be some kind of like Sinister Six sort of thing? Which it kind of was at that point because you have this, you know, this great collection of Spider-Man enemies, and a lot of them, and some of them are like very prolific ones. You know, like Doc Ock.
You're just one short, right?
And wait for
Furious Five. Were there just 5 of them?
Was there just 5?
Otto, Norman, Lizard, Sandman,
Electro,
right?
Yeah. We needed Topher Grace to show up.
Oh gosh, I'm dating your daughter. Gosh, he was terrible.
I don't know if that's his fault though. You know, I
want you to kill Peter Parker.
I don't think he was like a great casting choice. I like Topher Grace a lot. I still don't think he was ever a good casting choice, for that role for Eddie Brock. I always kind of pictured more like super beefy, like kind of meathead photographer. Kind of, yeah. Maybe even bigger.
Like an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay, maybe not that big. Whoever
Venom, we've got to go.
We've
got to get the Spider-Man.
Whoever's Venom in the game from, was it 99 or 98 or whatever, the PlayStation game.
Yeah, he was so good. Apparently the new Venom in the like Spider-Man PS4 game series, it's I forget his name, it's the guy that plays Candyman.
Who's Candyman?
From the horror movie Candyman.
I don't know who that is. Sorry.
Hold on.
Well, I guess so. I mean, we're jumping to the end of the movie, but this isn't really like that key. But there's a post-credit scene where you see Tom Hardy at a bar in San Francisco, right, talking to some guy.
Tony Todd.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, so, he's a good actor.
So you
he's got a really good voice.
Have Venom in the movie, right? I mean, he doesn't interact with anybody, and he ends up doing what all the other characters do at the end of the movie, and
did you
teleporting back. But
did you watch any of the Venom movies?
I've not seen either one. The first one looked not very good, and then the second one looked about as bad. So I have not seen either one, which is a bummer because I love Venom. As he might be my favorite Spider-Man villain. Him and Doc Ock are up there, but
there's some good things, and
I like him so much that I didn't see the movies, or if,
like you're too scared.
Yeah,
you don't want your childhood to die.
Yeah, they say don't meet your heroes and don't go to the movies.
Don't meet your villains in a movie.
Be bad.
There's some good things in the movies. I think overall they're not that great. There are some good things though that are like, whoa, that's really cool. But I don't know. I would still watch them just to, see what you think. if you've seen the Amazing Spider-Man 2, you should probably watch the 2 Venom movies.
I think Venom just serves better as a supporting character in a movie as opposed to being the lead. I mean, I'm sure Sony's sorry because the first movie didn't make a lot of money, so they
first movie.
Yeah, the
didn't
first
make
Venom
over.
one.
I thought it made like $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Didn't it make a lot of money?
Oh, I thought you said it didn't make a lot.
Oh
of money.
no! I remember hearing that it made a lot of money.
Yeah, I think it made $1 billion.
So they're like, oh, okay, we can just like pump these out or whatever, which like bums me out, I guess. I mean, I should watch it before I completely judge them. But those are movies I saw the trailers for, and the trailers completely turned me off the movies. Had I not seen them, I probably would have watched the movie at some point. But the trailers just seemed so bad to me. It just seemed like it weirdly butchered this character that seems like he would have been really hard to mess up. But I should watch them. But so to get back, so we have these like the Furious Five or whatever, and essentially they're trying to
Fatal Five.
Yeah. Peter Parker is trying to like get them all back to their universe.
Furious 5 is too close to like a Fast and Furious movie. So I'm trying to get away from that.
Peter's trying to get them all back to their universe while also simultaneously saving their lives so that they don't die. Because he doesn't want to send it back condemning them, you know? Because Tom Holland is, I would say, a fairly pure hero. He's very like young and naive and kind of like, I don't know.
Like when his suit in the past wants to like activate instant kill, he's like, no, I don't want to kill anybody. Yeah. I'm just a kid. Stop with the instant kill already.
Yeah,
so, that kind of makes sense.
Where then you have all these other Marvel MCU characters that are like slaughtering people left and right, basically. So so like that made a lot of sense with his character that he was trying to do that, especially because they're people he doesn't know. He's only just learning that they are like counterparts to some other version of himself. So he's sympathetic to these people and he's trying to get them back, but also redeem them in a sense and save them. So that's what most of the movie is him trying to help these people. So because he's a genius and he's working with these other geniuses, you know, he has Osborn and Doc Ock there, Otto Octavius, who are, you know, brilliant minds. So they're kind of like working together, primarily the three of them working on these fixes to give to the people to help them out. So the movie, like, for the most part, is going kind of pretty well, which also at this point, like, this is not how I foresaw where the movie was going to go or unfold. So that, in a sense, was really exciting because it was really hard to predict what was going to happen in this movie and how that was going to happen. So I would say for the most part, the whole experience of watching the movie was really fun because there was very little that you could like anticipate or predict as the movie unfolded until basically kind of like the third act where you kind of assume, you know,
what's happening,
what's going to happen. Like, oh, okay, you know, it's going to work out for the most part in the end.
So
one thing I thought was, before we get to, I guess, like some of the cooler stuff that happens in the movie. Yeah. The one thing it's not like it was necessarily glossed over because it is integral to like the core of the movie with why all these villains show up, was the whole thing about Peter Parker being known to the world. Like it's addressed somewhat in the movie. But for the most part, it's not touched on a ton. It's kind of like the first, you know, maybe like 20 minutes or something. There's a lot that happens, but then it's the movie just him trying to like reverse that. So I thought there was maybe going to be more interesting shenanigans or something. Maybe not shenanigans.
Like him having to deal with
the world knowing who he is. You know, and I would say it happened kind of on a small scale more than a large scale. So I think for someone who is like as prolific as Spider-Man in this universe, I feel like there would have been maybe some more stuff that happened. I don't know what that would have been, but I really liked the start of the movie. So the movie basically picks up exactly where the last one left off with J. Jonah Jameson going, Peter Parker and Spider-Man.
It's cool to see people's reacting to knowing who he is because we hadn't seen that in a Spider-Man movie before. So that was cool to like be able to see that. But seeing more of it like spaced throughout would have been kind of cool. There was some stuff where it was doing that got a little annoying. Like when he went into the school, there was like the part where the three teachers are like basically being comedians and just like,
JB Smoove, and then the other Martin, what's his name?
Martin Starr,
and then was that
the other
Buress, the other guy?
I don't know.
Okay,
but they're basically three comedians, right? I
would say yes, like in real life, right?
Yeah. So stuff like if they do it the right way, I like it. But when they do it in a comedic, like halt the flow of the film, I don't really care for.
My guess is that it was just more that they were all established characters from the previous movies, and so they were trying to fit them in some way. I mean, because they're not like as integral in these movies as this movie as they were in the others. Because like in the second one, Martin Starr, he's traveling. Are both of them, JB Smoove and Martin Starr, traveling with them throughout the whole trip?
Yeah, they're on the
whole European thing.
Yeah, the European trip.
Okay. So like, I guess I guess I wanted more seeing like how that would really actually affect him and how the world would react to that. So I'm sure sure some people are probably satisfied with it, but I think I just wanted maybe something that seemed a little more, I don't know, maybe just a little more real. I think schools probably would have actually like leapt at the chance to get him. I don't think it, I think it would have been the opposite. I don't think they would have.
I think maybe they didn't do that because there was the possibility of him being a murderer, him killing Mysterio. I think that was like maybe the reason why they didn't go that way. Even when he was cleared, I think, people just still couldn't trust him. But what was I going to say? There's so much in this movie, it's hard to like remember. And I've only seen it once.
Well, there was what's his face? Charlie Cox shows up as Matt Murdock.
Yeah, that was really
cool. And it was.
Did you watch Daredevil?
I saw like the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Okay.
But so like I knew who he was and everything. So like, and his role in that movie was like perfect enough because he wasn't in it too much, but it was like the right point to have him, I think. Yeah. And it was a good. I don't know if it was. It might be like more than a cameo. I don't know what they consider it. But,
yeah, I don't know.
But that was really fun. It felt fan servicey, but not like too fan servicey. So
yeah. Well, he was only in the movie for that one scene.
He wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like
he's a really good lawyer.
He wasn't weirdly shoehorned. But I guess did you see this in like you saw it in theaters? Did you see it in was it full or like fairly full?
Yeah, it was a packed theater.
I think this was a good movie to see in the theater if you had good people in the theater. I clearly had people in this theater who loved the Spider-Man franchise. Because each of those little moments in the movie, like there's so many of them, like it was just really fun because people were really excited about it. So like it made for a fun like group watching experience. Like it wasn't like people in the audience weren't over the top, but like you had like really genuine reactions and excitement to certain things. With like 2 very specific moments, which we'll get to. But. Yeah, there's a fair amount of great, great like cameos and stuff. People.
Yeah, I think probably one of my favorite parts about this movie, one of the aspects is I think what makes Peter Parker feel like Peter Parker is that his Peter Parker life sucks and it's hard and he gets just beat up constantly. That's something I think Spider-Man 2 did really well. And what makes that movie really good.
I think it's one reason I like that character so much.
Yeah. And the other Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield movies, to me, didn't really get that as much as the Raimi movies did. This movie, though, I think got that pretty good. And to me, that helps it feel more like the Peter Parker that I've grown up with and that I've read in the comics and that Stan Lee describes as the character that he co-created.
And I don't know how many more Tom Holland Spider-Man movies they're going to make or how that's going to work out. With the way
do you want to know how many they're going to make?
What do you know, like what the contract is or whatever that he has?
I know what they've talked about, what they want to do. So they want to do Pictures? Yeah. So they want to do 2 more trilogies with Tom Holland.
Oh my gosh.
So the first trilogy is him in high school. This next one is him kind of in his college years, and then the one after that will be older, mature Peter Parker.
What's he like actually signed up for?
I don't think it's anything official yet.
It's just kind of like what's wanted the most.
Right. I mean, I would be extremely shocked if he didn't start in another trilogy at least.
And would that be completely separate from the MCU? Because like the way this movie ends is like he could seemingly not be involved with that anymore, but while simultaneously like being still in that same kind of universe, I guess.
The last I heard is Sony and Marvel are like on good terms, and I think that they want to keep working with each other. I think that they could do the next Spider-Man movies like and have it feel more on its own for the reasons why this movie ended, but still be like in the MCU world, and without being like, hey, let's have Captain America be the co-star in this movie, like that type of thing.
Well, the reason I asked is because the way the movie ends is like it kind of sets up where he does look like his life is like kind of sucks. Yeah. And it essentially gives a point where like any future movies I think could easily be where it feels very much like the Spider-Man you and I like the most and know the most, where he's like down on his luck, lives in a crappy apartment, no one knows he's Spider-Man, and he's fighting tooth and nail so that no one finds out, and that he's like barely scraping by.
He doesn't have Stark Tech to help him out.
And he's sacrificing his personal life and everything to help people because he's this mostly selfless character. And the movie, I think, does a good job of setting up a potential for that. I don't know if they're going to do that. I would like if they did that, but
I think that that's the way that they're going, especially since they set it up so well. Like you said, that's my Spider-Man. Like it's funny because like even though this was the third movie in this trilogy, it seemed like the Spider-Man origin story that we hadn't got yet with this iteration.
I could see that.
You get the death of Aunt May, and she even says the famous line, "Great power, great responsibility." And she actually quotes it word for word from the comics, like exactly, which is the first time that's happened, which was kind of cool. Nice. So we get that. I feel like we just got to talk about it now. I think we're dancing around it too much. So along with all the villains from Raimi movies and Mark Webb movies, we also get...
Well, things go downhill for their plan because, surprise, surprise, Osborn is not good, and he's trying to sabotage some stuff. So everything, like all this bad stuff goes down. The heroes scatter. Electro and Sandman are like, why do we want to give up our powers? Doc Ock gets his powers, or gets his essentially morals
He's like
back.
The only one that gets cured.
He essentially escapes getting killed by the Goblin. And in all this, Aunt May dies, and we have Peter left like basically in shambles because he held his aunt as she died, and got that moment that you were describing that we got from the other movies, but with Uncle Ben from the other Spider-Man movies. So it's like really like not going great. And so then we have the other two characters, MJ and what's his name?
Ned.
I knew it was like some nerdy name. MJ and Ned, who are trying to trying to like help out Peter because it's going extremely poorly. Mm-hmm. And then continue.
Well, apparently Ned is a wizard because he can do some magic.
Accidental.
Doctor Strange can do. He is able to at least open
portals to the wrong places.
Portals. And who's to come through the portal but Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man. And I think you and I agree that his two movies we don't really care for that much, especially the second one. The second one is just garbage. And as good of an actor as Andrew Garfield is, I never really cared for his...
Skater boy?
His
Spider-Man?
Yeah, his kind of punk skater boy take on Spider-Man. This movie, though, it's the first time that I actually liked his character, his Spider-Man, and he, for me, almost kind of was my favorite out of the spoiler 3 because Tobey Maguire comes back, which was amazing.
Yeah, he steps through the second portal when they're trying to summon Peter, but they keep bringing in the wrong Peter to the universe.
But yeah, I think all of them are so good at what they do because even they're playing the same character, they have their own
quirks and differences and personality.
Right, they have their own things they're dealing with, and they just felt like their own person, which was cool.
And each universe of the movie, like the Tobey Maguire movies, the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and then the Home movies, they all really do feel like different universes. So you feel like you're taking these people from different places and merging them all into one place together. talking about the Andrew Garfield movies, like I would agree, those movies I was never really a fan of. The first one I think is much more passable than the second. The second one is awful, but the how this movie unfolds, and especially with Andrew Garfield's character, his Spider-Man, is he Spider-Man 3 when they come up with their numbers? Or is he Spider-Man 2?
I think he's 3.
Maguire is 2, and Tom Holland is Prime.
Yeah.
So Andrew Garfield's character, a big thing he talks about a lot is like how the death of Gwen Stacy affects him, which in the comics was a huge like pivotal point in his character, and like it just didn't land in his movie when she died. Like I think it's a good decision that they went with it, but they messed it up. Like it just doesn't work in the movie because so much of the movie is just not passable and doesn't function like it should. So her death it doesn't land like it should. But when we get his character referencing this death of this character that like we remember, and then as that unfolds throughout the movie with a couple key scenes, this movie, No Way Home, I think 100% justifies the existence of both of those movies. I don't think I would watch those movies again, but it essentially, I think, it justifies the existence of those films to me.
Yeah, and I think it...
Especially the second one.
Yeah.
Which essentially, to me, prior had, like, no reason to exist.
Right. And like I said, this was my first time I actually liked Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. Tobey was awesome. He felt like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man that we grew up with.
Yeah,
like,
when he walked in the portal, you're like, it was like seeing like an old friend. Like, it's such a dumb thing to say because he's just a character in a movie that like we watched as kids.
Though, yeah.
But they were movies that we saw, dozens of times that we grew up loving, and
I pretty much have the original Spider-Man memorized.
Yeah, you do. So like, yeah, when he steps through the portal, like, yeah, both like when Andrew Garfield, like when you see him in the portal, like my theater was like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then Tobey Maguire, it's like turned up to 10, like just people like so excited, and it's like, it was such a fun experience to watch in the theaters. Like I liked the movie a lot, but like part of the enjoyment I got it was watching it with all these other people who had a similar response to what I did with these movies. So yes, so sorry, we had a little glitch in the thing because Michael's smoke alarm went off. But I would say yes, this movie does rely a lot on nostalgia. I'm curious how they would respond to this movie without having any previous knowledge or love of those other movies. So like it does rely a lot on that. I'm aware of that, but I would say it didn't affect, like, in a negative way, me enjoying this movie. I think it's okay for me to like admit that yes, it's very nostalgic and it plays off of that. But I am fine with that because I liked the movie a lot and I liked what they did with those characters. And when you've got all three Spider-Men together, because they find the two alternate Spider-Men, they go to Tom Holland's Peter Parker. And Peter Parker is like, no, like, you gotta get it. Like, this is all going so poorly. And then you have, like, these great moments of these other Spider-Men telling Tom Holland, like, we get it. Like, we 100% understand because we've gone through almost identical kinds of struggles and the same kind of loss. And then you get, like, the great power comes with the great responsibility and, like, just, like, the connection with that. And, it, like... I don't know. It was just, there were so many good moments like that. So when you got all three Peters together and then when they're like working together, I think that's where the movie like elevated even more. Like it's, it's so
crazy. It's just crazy to think like if I could like go back and tell my, however old I was in 2007, like, don't worry, Tobey will be back and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And
like,
Spider-Man 4, right?
Yeah, it's crazy that they were able to pull it off. And like the whole thing with nostalgia.
You would have been 13, by the way.
13, yes. Giving away personal information here. I think why the nostalgia worked is because it was nostalgia with purpose. Like there was good reasons to have those characters return. And the fact that they returned and were great also helped out. It was great. I really want to see it again because, like I said, I've only seen it once. But I really, really enjoyed the movie. I love that, and it's little details, but I love that Michael Giacchino brought back like the themes from the Raimi films. Like that stuff is important to, I think, filmmaking. It is to have, those musical cues that belong to certain characters, and hearing that again,
the motifs, right? Like that's what they're called, right?
The leitmotifs.
Leitmotifs.
Hearing those again, specifically the Danny Elfman ones, was like so cool. Like, yes, that's I love it. It's perfect. Nailed it. But yeah, so just seeing them working together, working as three Peters, like trying to figure
together,
out how
that was such a cool
swing,
moment,
swinging together. Basically, what happens is they all work together and they figure out how to cure each of their respective villains, and they have like their final fight on the Statue of Liberty, which part of these were in the trailer where they were fighting. Not they. You only saw Tom Holland's Peter, Spider-Man. Part of me was like, oh, I wonder if they're even going to bring in like original X-Men stuff, because that's.
Do you know what happens when a toad gets struck by lightning?
The same thing that happens to everything else.
Well,
so good.
So the fight at the end, like, I don't know if I just wanted something crazier. I did kind of want there to be more permanent ramifications for that box breaking and the spell getting loose. Yeah. Essentially, what's his face? What's his name?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange is kind of able to magic everything back together just with the whole memory thing, which is basically what was going to happen anyway at the movie, or at the beginning of the movie when Peter went to him. Yeah. So like, I wanted there to be more, I guess, ramifications for something that seems like it's universe breaking almost.
See, I think we will get that in his movie.
Okay.
I mean, his movie is called The Multiverse of Madness, so I think that maybe it seemed like it tied up all loose ends in this movie, but I think there will be some lingering stuff.
And I didn't want them to be one of those things where it's like the last 10 minutes of the movie, its purpose is to set up all these other movies. I didn't necessarily want that. I just wanted there to be an understanding that like when things happen that are catastrophic, that it affects more than just this small, tiny group of people. And so when we see him able to essentially undo all that, it does wrap up in a sense, at least from this viewing of the movie, that it all wraps up in this movie alone, and that there's not ramifications. So I'm hoping that whatever happens in Multiverse of Madness, that there are issues in there because of what happens in the Spider-Man movie. And if that happens, I think I would be completely fine with the Spider-Man movie not, just outright showing like how this is going to change things. So I just like to know that there's consequences for.
Do you not see the fact that the whole world doesn't know basically who Peter Parker is, that's not a ramification? Do you not really count that?
No, because that's essentially what they were trying to do at the very beginning, and that's almost what was going to happen. Because even at the very beginning of the spell, Strange was not going to know, right? Strange was one of the people that wasn't. And then Peter starts listing all these people like, oh no, I want this person to remember me. I want this person to remember me. I don't want this person to forget me.
I mean, the spell's a little different though, isn't it? Because in the beginning, he's just like, I want people to forget that I am Spider-Man. Yeah. The last spell is people need to forget me, like me as a person, so nobody knows that Peter Parker exists.
Fair. I guess that's
it's a little bit different, because
I think maybe I meant more than that I want it to affect the universe,
the world,
because it's literally like the universe breaking, and then like it all, like it's somehow like it's all fine as long as just this one person isn't remembered. So
and I like I said, I think we'll get something in Multiverse of Madness.
Ultimately, I'm glad people don't know who Peter Parker is, because I like that way better.
I think that's how it should be.
Yeah, I think
it adds a level of suspense and drama that you just don't get when alter egos or secret identities don't exist.
I'm more, and I've talked about this on the show before, I'm more of an alter ego guy anyway. I like it when you don't know who the hero is, and the MCU really has not been that way. There's very few that are like true alter egos, because they're kind of all
really
like,
only.
It's like super. It's like you're like a super celebrity kind of, basically.
It really was only Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the TV ones, or the Netflix ones, but I don't know if those Those are kind of like weird gray area. I mean,
maybe they do count.
I mean, now they do.
Have you been watching Hawkeye?
Yes, I have been watching Hawkeye.
Did you finish Hawkeye?
No, I've seen first 3 episodes, maybe the first 4. We started it late just because last month has been pretty busy, so we actually watched like 2 or 3 episodes yesterday because we're like, well, it's like Christmassy themed, and and we wanted to watch it. So the first episode I thought was okay. I didn't really like get into it that much. But I think from second on, like, I really like started to enjoy it. I agreed with a lot of what you and Will talked about. I kind of like it feels a little more like grounded. There's not a lot of super crazy stuff going on. It's more of a personal story. So, and then I don't know like much about the source material for this. So a lot of this I'm going into fairly blind. Has what's her name? The character's name?
Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, what's
Kate Bishop?
Yeah, Kate Bishop. Was she like teased or in anything else or okay.
This was her first.
There was the Awkwafina Archer, right?
I mean, technically she might have been in like a Flash scene in Avengers because that's where she is in the movie, but no, she's not.
Okay. I didn't know, like, I feel like they've been introducing all these Archer people, or maybe we're just a couple.
Well, see, what I thought is, so in the beginning of Endgame, we see Clint with his kids, and his daughter is shooting the bow and arrow. And when I heard that they were doing the Hawkeye series, I thought, oh, like she's going to be like his number 2, but it was this different girl.
Okay. Did Black Widow have like an Archer girl too? I didn't see Black Widow. I haven't seen Black Widow yet, but.
You don't have to.
Oh.
It's pretty bad.
I want to see it at some point. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen Eternals, and I haven't seen Captain Marvel. So, did you ever see Eternals?
Oh, yeah, I saw Eternals.
Was it not good or like bleh?
I wanted to like it, and I had a lot of problems with that movie.
Okay. Maybe I'll watch it when it's on Disney Plus or something.
I think it is.
Oh, it is.
Maybe
I'll watch it someday. Clearly, I'm not in any kind of hurry, so.
I don't think you are.
I've never been I have to see every single MCU movie that's in the theaters. I kind of pick and choose, and then if there's ones that look interesting to me, like I've always loved Spider-Man, so those movies, I've seen all those in the theaters, and some of those I'd seen a couple times in the theaters. But there's a lot, I don't see till years later, or when they show up on, like, Doctor Strange was one. I don't think I saw that until like 2018 or something. So even like Thor Ragnarok, I don't think I saw that in theaters either.
Did you not?
Maybe I did.
I feel like you would have, because you like.
Well, I like Taika Waititi a lot.
But anyway, Spider-Man: No Way Home, I think was great. I'm really excited to see where this iteration of Spider-Man goes, because I think it's in the realm that you and I think really like the most with the Peter Parker character. So
yes, yeah.
Even his like suit, like he makes his own suit. It's probably the most comic accurate suit out of every suit, which is really cool. So yeah, I think it's great movie.
I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed the movie. One moment I think that like stands out, and one reason I mentioned Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the moment when Andrew Garfield catches MJ.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think that was probably like the most emotional point in the whole movie, which was interesting because I didn't have that reaction in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but just because of how he explains the moment, and how I guess maybe people who care more about the Spider-Man universe understand the implications of like Gwen Stacy dying and how that affects Spider-Man in any iteration of Spider-Man, comic or film or whatever. Him like being able to save her was like such a great moment, and I think that's probably my favorite part in the whole movie, to be honest.
Well, like you said, it kind of justified the existence of his previous movie.
Yes. I would say 100%.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I think he kind of stole the show, as far as, maybe it's because I disliked his character so much in his 2 movies, that the fact that he was really good in this movie made me like him even more.
That makes sense. And I think like the Raimi movies we remember, I mean, like Spider-Man 3 wasn't great, but there was enough of him that we kind of got like a full I think, Spider-Man experience from those 3 movies.
Yeah, and we got like a complete arc.
Yes, and I think it wrapped up fairly well. So when we get Tobey Maguire, it's like kind of seeing like an old friend, kind of like what we had described, like someone that like they finished what they wanted to do, and you got to see them again years later, and it was really cool. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was like unresolved, and the movies were not good, and so his purpose in the movie was like much more redemptive, and like he literally has this moment of redemption where he's able to save the other Spider-Man's love interest in a way that he failed in his last appearance, which not only was the appearance, like the actual appearance, not a good film experience, but he killed or was there when Gwen Stacy died and was not able to save her. And so just all of that together, like each Peter, I think, served such a different function and did it so well. And it was so nostalgic at the same time because it was like, you know, these literal decades of building up to this movie. I hate like fawning over movies because I think it's so dumb, but I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It was such a great experience as someone who's loved Spider-Man since I was a very little boy. And it's probably like, I don't know if it's my favorite Spider-Man movie, but it has to be like the best Spider-Man movie. How it all like culminates from these different franchises getting together, and I think there was very little that they dropped the ball on in this movie.
I think out of all of the Spider-Man movies, this one had the highest chance of failure. And the fact that I think they hit it out of the park is saying a lot, because this movie could have gone so poorly. It could have been so cheesy. You know, it could have been nostalgia overload where it's just like, okay, they're just obviously trying to bank off of previous iterations. But the fact that, and we haven't really talked about it enough, I think that Tom Holland, this was his best, you know, acting and his best take on Spider-Man yet. And it made me like him even more too. Like it made me like all the Spider-Man actors more and more, which again, I think that would have been really hard to do. And I think they did it great. So
yeah, I mean, reunion shows usually do very poorly. They are like really cheesy, bad writing, usually unnecessary. And I thought none of that was the case with this movie. They somehow were able to pull it. It was like the Avengers Endgame of Spider-Man movies, but I think I like it better than that just because it's more succinct. And it's Spider-Man, so you know I'm a little.
I think it's my favorite MCU movie by far. But yeah, that's I'm sure we'll talk about this movie.
I'm curious to see what Will, Colby, and Landon have to say about it, because I think they all liked the movie. We haven't talked about it much. I think so. Because we've been kind of busy, but yeah, we'll ask them. We'll talk about it next week and then see what people's thoughts were on the movie, because I really enjoyed it and you really enjoyed it. So yeah.
How long have we been going?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
We can wrap up. I mean, there's not much else, I guess, on the agenda. So
yeah,
you know,
we gotta save stuff. Almost dead, but
we gotta save stuff for next week.
Yeah. I can talk about. I can talk about this next week, but I saw the Matrix Resurrection movie.
Did you see it in theaters or on?
I did see it in theaters. Yeah. Okay. I wanted to see a Matrix movie in theaters for once. So. Yeah.
Well, you were too young to see the other ones in theaters, right? So
a little too young. Yeah. So yeah, I can talk about that more next week, and if other people get a chance to see it, probably on HBO Max, then they can do that.
Was it as good as
Dave?
Was it as good as the Matrix game demo that's on PS5?
The Unreal 5.
Yeah.
Did you play it?
No, I have not. I've seen some clips of it. I saw that you had played it. What is that like? Like, was it like crazy weird graphics or realistic?
It's just like it's the feeling where you're like, whoa, okay, this is like next gen. Like this is what next gen looks like. This is cool. The game itself, I mean, it's really not a game.
It's more just like a tech demo, right?
Right. There's like a couple like shooting things here and there, and then when you're done with like the scripted stuff, you're basically like you can like go free in the city. You know, like
I didn't even know there was scripted stuff.
I mean, it's scripted stuff.
Okay.
There's you can like run around the city. You can drive cars and drive around the city. You can be like a free floating camera and just fly around the city. You can change settings. It was like the first time I was like, whoa, okay. Like it's kind of the old cliche of like, games can't get any better looking. This is the best they've. Oh no, they can. Okay.
And then you go back and look at PS3 graphics, and you're like, oh yeah, they did get better since then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check that out.
So and it's free, so I would definitely check it out.
All right.
So
well, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.
Welcome. It was fun to listen.
I wasn't talking to you.
Oh, sorry. Yes, thank you for listening, listeners, and we will talk to you next week with a full cast of.
I don't know. Maybe we'll just be the Parkerkeys podcast from now on.
Honestly, I like the one-on-one podcast the best. I think they're more fun.
You like them the best?
Yeah. Screw the other people.
I mean, I guess it's easy to say that when you're just with the two people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that when all of us are recording together. That might not go over well.
I would say it.
Oh, okay.
I'll say it next week.
Okay. All right. It'll be Mick and Colby next week.
Oh God, that would make me change my mind. Don't make me do an episode alone with Colby.
3 people. Okay, well, we'll be back
I love you,
week.
Colby. Yep.
Bye,
everyone. Merry Christmas.
Spider-Man.
Christmas time, it's Spider-Man. Christmas time is a place for Spider-Man to web your face. Look out. Here comes Spider-Man.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Hotkeys podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, CastBox, YouTube, and other podcasting platforms. Visit our website, www.hotkeyspodcast.com. Follow us on Twitter at Hotkeys Podcast and join our Facebook group at facebook.com/HKHotkeys. Please like and review us and subscribe to the show on whichever platforms you use. Finally, you can contact us via email at hosts@hotkeyspodcast.com.